I really hope this is working because I switched it. Yeah, okay, connecting. Okay, good. I live streamed Thursday, and I always get scared when I switch channels.
So if you're watching the playback, you can just like fast forward it into a minute or two in. So we'll be right on our topic by then. For the next little bit, we're going to welcome everyone and say hello. Minty and, I'm not sure how I pronounce the first part, Alt, Littlefield. MCF, Family, McFamily Vlogs. Sammy G, hey everyone.
We have shakes that we're drinking / eating.
We're not coffee people, we're white chocolate shake people. So.
It's really good. Mom made it like literally seconds before
we started. What's the countdown? We're glad that you guys got notified.
We're super excited.
How's everyone doing? Tell us in the chat how you're doing.
It's quiet here right now.
It's amazing. Peace and quiet.
I know.
Okay, everyone's favorite question for us is what time is it there in Utah? It is 4 o'clock right here. And it is hotter than heck. That's your other favorite question.
How hot is it outside right now? I didn't think it was that bad. I haven't been outside today. Oh, just kidding, I have.
Oh, Sammy G, I always get so happy when you say something because I'm originally from Indiana. And we're good.
We're good.
We just finished up 8 weeks of classes.
I would say 9 because we had to do homework the week before the first class.
Okay, so 9 weeks of classes for YouTube. And it was intense and amazing and informative. And now we need like a recovery time after we did one class that was really intensive. And then Jeff Barsh, I don't know if you guys know him from Story Greenlight, who's a professional Hollywood editor.
We took a class from him. That was so cool.
Like he works for Disney and Paramount and all those places, and he offered a class, and it was at the same time we're like, we could not miss this opportunity.
So halfway through our really intense class, we did another really intense class.
So it was awesome.
It was fun though.
Hi Heather, so glad to have you guys here.
Hi everyone.
Riley, hello.
Okay, we're on a little bit of time crunch. I think the longest this can be is like 25 or 30 minutes.
Okay, so we will go ahead and get right into it. We told people if you're coming back on the playback, skip into it, and we'll go ahead. Hi, Brianna. Emery will wave to you guys as you come on, okay? And I'll keep talking. So, and you guys can go ahead and
put in your 2 cents.
Yeah, put in your 2 cents on all these topics because I know that a lot of them have actually happened to you. And I just want to, it's something that's really been bugging me lately because some of these just recently happened to us. And so I had to work through it. I had to say, okay, when someone says something like that to me, I'm going to keep moving forward. So
meet the Robinsons.
Yeah, meet the Robinsons. We're going to meet the Robinsons through this. Okay, so these are, okay, so I came up with a list of 8 things that people have said to me over the years.
I only know some of these. We haven't gone through the list
yeah.
yet, so.
People have said to me over the years because we were either dealing with a chronic illness or some sort of disease or disorder that we couldn't get diagnosed no matter how hard we tried. And it was, I don't want to use the word pervasive because that's kind of a big word, but it was the only thing our family could focus on because it was so disruptive to the family and, multiple hospitalizations and no one can figure out what's going on. And so this is my list for you. Okay. You just need to choose to get better and stop dwelling on your symptoms.
I feel like you can say that to someone that maybe is getting over a cold. You just need to forget that you have a little bit of a stuffy nose. It'll go away soon.
But when it comes to, you're having a seizure every 15 seconds, that was what was happening to Emery. Every 15 seconds, her brain was going blah, blah, blah. Or you've got severe brain inflammation and you've, it's actually destroyed your life. You can't go to school anymore. You are doing everything you can to stay afloat. That is not something that you should listen to when someone says that to you.
Yep.
Because that's someone who has no clue what is it like to be you. No clue. They've never been sick a day in their lives, or they've never had anything that doesn't like go away, or they can't just ignore, like take a pill and ignore it.
Yeah, like getting through a cold.
And so,
yeah, that's fun.
choosing to get better or choosing to ignore something is something that you can do sometimes. But when you have a very serious chronic illness, actually choosing to ignore it can be really dangerous. You wouldn't tell somebody who is having a heart attack to choose to ignore it.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, just ignore that. Yeah, that's not good advice.
Yeah, no.
Don't listen to people who say things like that to you. Don't let them make you feel bad.
Do you want to say hi to more people before we go to the next one?
Kayla, Precious Ladybug, Brianna, my mom.
Hi, Nana.
It's good to have you guys on there. Okay, next one. Now, this actually happened to us while we were taking our YouTube class. Are you ready, Emery?
Life, guys.
Yeah, Minty says, oh, you're falling off a building, just don't. Oh, yeah, you're having a seizure, just stop. Because that's great advice. Great. Okay, and so you just need to realize that those people don't understand what it's like to be you and move on with your life and don't listen to them.
I feel like that's the answer to a lot of these.
Okay, and so, Emery, what did they say to us during our YouTube class?
You guys just need to have a normal family vlog with like all your problems kind of on the side as extra content sometimes.
They tell us to just be a normal family. And I'm like, dude, I didn't sign up for this.
Dude, we so wish we could.
Are you kidding me? We liked those few little years in our lives where we actually were kind of a normal family. But that's...
I don't know if we've ever been completely normal.
But we were more normal than we are now.
Yeah.
It was a big insult. And it was kind of like, oh, and they said, don't talk about PTSD so much. Don't be about PTSD. Just be a normal family. And I'm like...
Just ignore all your problems.
Okay, let's start with that. There are 8 million people in the United States alone with PTSD, and it's not something that they can just decide to be normal through. When that happens to you, there is no just deciding anything. So, just more of that lovely advice. Precious Ladybug said hi, Nana, to you, my mom. That's cute. Okay, if you were living right... I had a clergy say this to me before. If you were living right, your children wouldn't be sick. Okay. Now, it was Jesus that said, when he was asked who sinned and that made the person blind, was it the person that was blind or his parents that sinned that caused the blindness? He's like, neither one of them. So me sinning or not sinning does not cause my children to be sick. And you cannot, this is really hard. Not because I thought I was sinning, but because I blame myself for a lot of not being able to get my children help fast enough no matter how hard I tried. There's enough guilt going around as a mom that you don't need to bring God into it when he's the one trying to help you get diagnosed and not the other way around. So that was like, oh my goodness. So if you've ever had a clergy, and I know that there are people who actually believe that, tell that to you, they're freaking lying to you. Okay, so, and this kind of goes along with that, and this was really hard. I actually had a family member say this to me one time. It's God's will that bad things are happening to you. Okay.
So you can learn from them.
Okay, so, this was my response back to that person. God doesn't make bad things happen, and he doesn't want bad people to do bad things to you. And this was actually a response to something bad someone had done to us. That's breaking his will if you break the commandments, and that was really against the commandments what they did. So, if you believe things like that, it makes you not feel like you're loved. It makes you feel like you're less than the person who didn't have that bad thing happen to them. And so that's like a rabbit hole. You do not want to, you have enough problems before you start believing stuff like that.
One thing that is God's will is he wants you to ask for help when you go through those bad things.
Right. But he doesn't, like, influence someone to do something bad to you, which is the situation we were in. So, here's my favorite one for the law of attraction people. You're attracting that into your life.
If you would just have more positive energy, it wouldn't happen.
You wouldn't get sick like that. You wouldn't have seizures if you had more positive energy. Oh my goodness. And the person that told, well, never mind, I'm going to be quiet. Okay. So here's the thing. If you think about this logically, there are children who are born into this life with horrible diseases and who don't live very long and they're not attracted anything into their lives as newborn infants. So be logical about this. This is the whole blame the victim thing is really popular right now. You know, you didn't ask for this. It happened anyway. So, yeah. And then Precious Ladybug said, God doesn't make people do bad things. Correct. He doesn't tell people to do bad things. So it's just like, no. And that was one thing that I really worried about people, because when I realized people actually believe that, I'm like, how do you go on with your life? Because in that, you know, that's just weird. You have better psychiatric, you know, psychological outlook on life if you do not believe that.
Better mental health.
Yep, thank you. And okay, here's the problem with all that guru advice about ignore your symptoms or you're attracting more bad symptoms into your life, is that when you have overwhelming symptoms that are causing you brain damage, when they are, you can't ignore them. You can't pretend like they're not there.
I feel like it's even like when you get down to like I shouldn't say things that are a little bit more common, like depression or something like that. When people try to ignore like severe depression, or it doesn't help them.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. You're not going to ignore your brain chemistry into better shape than it's in right now. So Minty brings up a good point. So let's talk about that for a second. Minty said, my church talks a lot about God allowing bad things to happen to you. We learn God allows these things to remind us to come unto him. A person with nothing bad happening in this world won't come unto him. That is a very good point. The difference is that God doesn't make bad things happen to you. He allowed us to come into this world with free will. So I can do good or I can do bad with that free will, right? And that's the difference. As a parent, okay, let's talk about this. One time, McKaylee got some hair dye. And she's like, I'm going to dye my hair this color. And I'm like, oh my goodness, McKaylee, when you finish dyeing your hair that color, you are going to hate it.
You're going to be so sad.
And then we have to pay money to have it, you know, undone. It's going to be really expensive. But I let her do it anyway because she needed to have the experience when she was young.
It's her hair. She wasn't going to shave it off.
Yeah, of learning that sometimes mommy knows, you know. And so we let her do it anyway. And God lets things happen. He lets us make our own choices. He lets other people make their own choices, even when those choices hurt other people, because he gave us agency on this planet. That doesn't mean that he made people do bad things or that he made those bad things happen. And that's the difference. There are always going to be natural consequences to your choices. So
good and bad.
Good and bad. Thank you for bringing that up, Minty. You're right. But just don't sit there thinking that
God forced this to happen so I could learn.
Yeah, this life is not a chessboard, and there's not somebody like, you know, you're not like some chess piece that God's moving around. It's not the way it works. So, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so, you should just move on with your life?
I don't think so.
You should just move on with your life. I got that one recently, too. That is not excellent advice. I even got that from a doctor, and I think that was some of the worst advice I'd ever gotten in my life. He's like, there's no test that can help your daughter. Just move on with your life. Someday there'll be a test. And he was actually wrong. The very next doctor that we found actually knew about a test that was able to diagnose my daughter. And so when someone says just move on with your life, you really need to ignore them. You need to go to that next doctor who thinks that you should really try and keep trying to get diagnosed. That's like some really serious bad information. So, here's the last one. This was actually really painful to me.
What?
Actually, no, I have two more. Okay, so, I recently had someone tell me that my problem is that I think that I'm the only person in this world with problems, and my problems are bigger than everybody else's. And I'm like,
no.
That'd be kind of hard to do since I have you guys writing to us on a regular basis, telling us your stories, and they're huge problems. You guys have some huge trials and medical problems that you're dealing with. So I could never think that because I get a reminder every single day that that's not true. Not that I did think of it, but I knew it wasn't true.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think they realize that we know that we're blessed that we get to go from doctor to doctor.
Yeah, we have insurance. And, you know...
Even though it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but at least that's an option.
But when people say to you, because if it hasn't happened yet, it probably will eventually, you know, you're going to have people hit you with these things, and you need to know how to react. It's because your problems are so big that it's hard to see on the other side of them, you know? No one says to a woman in labor, you know, your problem is you think you're the only one in pain right now. They don't say that to her because at that moment she is the only one in pain.
At least in the room.
In the room, you know? And so if you've got a problem that's that big, it requires a lot of your day, and that's just the way it is. And when people judge you for it, you've just got to ignore it. You do.
You don't expect someone in labor to have sympathy for someone across the hall that's also in labor. I don't.
Anyway. But we do actually have a lot of empathy for you, and it's because of what we've been through that we understand. There are a lot, and I think that, well, the person doesn't know me because they don't know I have a hard time sleeping at night because I start thinking about all the other kids who are going through what Michaela's going through and don't have access to what we have access to, and it makes me ill. So, okay, here's my last one. Actually, we kind of touched on it a second, but this is one thing that actually drives me crazy. People say God is in charge, so everything's going to be all right. God is in charge, and just like we said with Minty, that doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen. He lets those things happen, and that doesn't mean he's bad, but he lets people make their choices. And so bad things do happen because people have agency to do what they're going to do. And so that one I really have a hard time with. But I'm trying to get over my hard time with it because I hear that one more than anything. When people say that to me when I'm really struggling, Kylie's in the hospital, wherever, people are like, don't worry. This is his plan. And I'm thinking, not everything that happens to us was part of his plan because people do bad things and he didn't want those things to be done. So anyway, anyone else? Oh, who else has something? Might not have been expecting you to choose to have a normal life, could just have been saying you shouldn't put everything out there on the vlog, but if they think that, they should just not watch it. Thank you, User Kitty, that's right. Actually, the person was critiquing our vlog, and that was their advice, is that we just not talk about those kind of things and we just be a normal, quote-unquote, family. God does have this, and he does help us. And that's the difference, is not that he makes bad things happen to you, it's just that he helps you through it when they are happening.
It makes your burdens feel lighter. They might not actually be lighter, but it makes you feel better.
And so, my big worry and my big concern was if you guys were having people say that to you, I'm like looking at the back of this that I've got, like, if you guys were having people say things like that to you, is that you don't start feeling like you're less loved because bad things happen to you, because that's not the way it works. And so that's my big thing. You know, our whole theme is about believing that miracles happen. Miracles happen every single day, and they can happen to you and they will happen for you. And to watch for those tender mercies, and we try to point them out when we see them, and we try to see them. But when they don't happen, it isn't because of something bad, you know, that you've done. It isn't because God doesn't love you, and it isn't because God is really rooting for bad things to happen to you. So, or causing other people to do bad things to you. So that's basically some things I need to get off my chest because they've really been bothering me.
Hopefully this helps you too.
Yeah, and hopefully it helps you too.
Either now or in the future.
Yeah, just remember that when people say things like that to you, they just have never been through the kind of trials that you're going through right now, and they just don't understand. And that's just the way you need to look at it, is they just do not understand. So, anyway, trials prove strength, from Anna Taman. That is true. And that's another good thing. You know, we have had a lot of good things happen because of the bad things that have happened to our family. So we're not going to say nothing good ever happens because you're stronger than you are, the next time.
Dude, we try to like surround the videos around the good things.
And
that doesn't always happen, but we try. Sorry. It's cold.
I feel like, and then this was the other thing, that when the person said that, we should just be a normal family, there are people who do not feel comfortable around people who've been disabled in some way. And they don't want any sort of face to be the face of a disability. And that was really clear to us as we were...
I think it's not just things that are more rare, even things that are more
common,
that are like more well known, like someone that's in a wheelchair.
Right. They were like, you need to stay away from that. That makes people sad to see.
That makes people uncomfortable.
And so one thing that we really, really, really want to do with our channel after having people talk to us that way is to make sure that we actually always put it out there. Always. Because mental illness is real, and it is part of American society. We can't pretend like it doesn't exist because that doesn't help anybody. Neurological issues are real. They're part of our society, and to pretend like that doesn't exist and pretend like people don't exist because it makes people uncomfortable if we talk about it, that's too bad. Because we're not going to do that. It is not my favorite thing to talk about PTSD. I only talk about it when it's become a problem with me at that moment. It's actually very uncomfortable, but I feel like it's one of the most important things that I can do is to say, I have a mental illness, and it's really hard to deal with. It's like the most, it's the biggest thing in my life at that point, and it disrupts my family. It becomes a huge deal, but I'm one of 8 million people with that exact same problem. So we can't just like put it aside and pretend. It's just not it doesn't work like that. So, and we're not gonna let it work like that. That is the thing, is we aren't all the same. We don't all look the same, and we all have the same abilities, the same trials, and we can't pretend like we do because then we get into big problems. So, what kind of things was Moose learning to do, or is Moose learning to do in his task training?
He's learned a couple of new things.
Blocking
is what we're most excited about because that's what Kylie needs the most during day-to-day stuff.
So Kylie has two problems. It's scary for somebody to come up from behind her, and then also because she has a knee cap that doesn't stay in place on its own. It's been sewn into place, but it just doesn't. And so if someone bumps her, it hurts. It hurts really bad. It literally could take her kneecap out of joint. And so Moose has been trained to block, protect her kneecap.
Well, he can do all four sides.
Yeah, he can do all four sides, but that's part of a big deal. If she's in a crowd, he can protect her kneecap, and also he's protect her from somebody walking up behind her.
Or if she feels nervous in a crowd or wherever.
Right, and then he also he can do push-ups.
It's the cutest thing ever.
But anyway, that's part of a practice training that we'll have to show you sometime because it's awesome. But he's working on like making himself smaller so he can get underneath her in a pew, underneath her in a desk. And so he's learned a lot of new words that help him to help her with like day-to-day things. Also
to help him focus more.
Right.
Watch is where if you say watch, he'll make eye contact with you until you break it. Lots of things. One thing that he hasn't quite learned yet that he's going to eventually is being able to alert us without barking.
So right now, he knows when her brain inflammation is building up, but he doesn't have something that he does. He doesn't have a certain task. Here, I'm going to go do this because her brain inflammation is building up. His behavior changes dramatically, and he won't leave her side. Yeah, he won't eat. He won't go to the bathroom. He won't drink.
He's in his kennel. A lot of times, her brain inflammation goes up at night when she's sleeping or when she's laying down. And so, if that happens at night, and he's in the room with her, he'll freak. He'll bark uncontrollably. You can't get him to stop.
And we know that in all likelihood, if she doesn't need to go to the hospital at that point, she's going to very soon. Because by the time he's like doing that uncontrollably, I don't think there's ever been a time we didn't have to take her to the emergency room right away. And And so that's kind of so the next step, I think, is going to be getting him to actually have a very specific task that he does to warn us before it's to that point, because he can tell at least 2 days in advance. We know he can. So
if we could get the medicine that she doesn't necessarily need on a day-to-day basis, only when she's starting to get bad, and her before it gets bad, that would be amazing.
Okay, so Precious Ladybug says, I completely understand about the handicap environment because it's sad to see that they get treated in the wrong way and not by getting to know them for who they are in Christ. That is true. And that is part of a lot of different kinds of prejudices now. And anytime you have prejudice that become a big deal in the world, they become a big deal for people who have disabilities too. User Kitty says, I've been thinking about getting a service dog to block because I have severe panic attacks pretty randomly, and people getting closer will make it worse. Yes, that is true. We know that's true for Kylie too. So anyway, yeah. No, I hope that you can do that, because I felt like that was one of the biggest game changers this time around.
Next to being able to alert, which will probably be next round.
Right.
That's huge.
Is being able to block, because
he's
such a huge dog that just
even though he's really cute,
he's huge.
His size is kind of intimidating. So
not that that's a service dog's job to intimidate, but his size makes you feel more comfortable as if you're McKaylee, because he's really big.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, to her, even though it might not feel to anyone else, to her, it's like he's protecting her.
Right. So it just makes her feel safer that this giant dog is helping her at that point. So, and it makes me feel better. So it makes us all feel better. It's been, like I said in our last video, if you didn't watch it, her doctor called Moose being away at camp training the part of the perfect storm, because we didn't get a warning this time before her inflammation built up, when we, for the last several months, have been getting warnings, like, something's happening right now. And so this time it was really hard, because we didn't know until it was too late and we had to take her in and have IV steroids and everything else. So
we probably should go, though.
We should go. Thank you for listening to us rant and talk about things that are just, they're important, and they're not necessarily things that, people get into and that we would normally even, spend a whole vlog on. But we want to get your feedback, and we want to know that we love you and God loves you, and bad things happen to good people all the time. And that's what you need to, be aware of. So,
okay, we will see you next week for a video. There's something very exciting going on, so be ready.
Big surprise.
Big surprise. Okay, we love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Mwah.